Hey guys, it's ExandShadow here with another Ramble style review thing. Now, this is mostly gonna be the same as my normal rambles, even though I've got my webcam up, because I've managed to get the microphone to work better, and before I was using some sort of sync thing with Audacity, but now I actually got the microphone to work with the webcam, so this is more of a test than anything. But I also wanted to talk about this. Professor Layton and the Curious Village. This is one of the many Christmas presents that I got over the year, this year I should say, along with a few other things. I asked for this mostly because of these. Okay, let's make it clear. The only reason I'm interested in the Professor Layton series at all is because of the crossover Layton Cross Ace Attorney that is coming out for the 3DS. And I figured, why not? I'm gonna play that game anyway, so I might as well know a little bit more about the Layton series. So I picked up the first game, and played it through, and I have to say, I'm kinda disappointed. I heard a lot of good things about this game, and in the end I found it more frustrating than anything. But I guess I should start off with the story, and you should be warned there are gonna be plenty of spoilers in this. Professor Layton starts off, and you play as Professor Layton and his apprentice Luke as they go to a curious village to find the golden apple, which is said that the Baron who died there, he will give his fortune to whoever finds it. So basically you go around, and Layton becomes the town's messenger boy. The lady who hired you has her get you her cat, and it takes you like half the game before you start looking for the damn golden apple to begin with. But along the way, a person in the town named Simon gets murdered, and then this inspector comes, named Inspector Chelney, and he's like, "I hate you, Layton." And at another point, you can also see a dark, shadowy figure who is the main villain of this game, and spoiler alert, his name is Don Paolo, I think that's how you pronounce it, and he's a really disappointing villain, I have to say. One, he's not developed at all, and two, you don't find out why he hates you. I mean, even Layton says, "I don't know why he hates me." I'm sure this is something that's brought up in future games, but the fact is that I'm going to compare. Now, let me just make it clear. I'm comparing it to the Ace Attorney games, just because these are the games that are being compared to Professor Layton. So, in the Ace Attorney games, you always find out what the motivations of the killer are. As a matter of fact, they're usually the most important part of the case. In this game, you don't know anything about the bad guy, and so the game really sort of lacks an antagonist most of the time. And also, the game has one of the stupidest plot twists I've ever seen. Basically, as you go along, you find out that everyone in the town that you've talked to is a robot. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Now, it makes some kind of sense, but the fact is that that made me lose any sort of interest in the game because it takes such a leap in logic to get there. I mean, Layton automatically assumes, "Oh, these guys are robots because there was this little tiny hug that dropped at whenever someone disappeared." And I think to myself, couldn't that have been like a calling card sort of thing? Serial killers do that all the time. And it's robots. I mean, come on, this game's been somewhat realistic before. And I mean, getting chased by an evil Ferris wheel wasn't exactly realistic, but I mean, the game had a somewhat serious tone before, and robots! Come on! So, yeah, in the end, you find out that the golden apple was not an actual apple, but it was the Baron's daughter, Flora. And in the end, she comes back with Layton, and I assume she becomes a main character in the series after that. I did not like the story in this game. Honestly, it takes way too long to get going, and fact is that the characters aren't really that interesting, especially after you find out they're robots. Gah, that still bugs me. But I mean, the characters, they just aren't interesting. I mean, they've got some quirky elements to them, but they're not memorable in any way. I don't remember their names. Again, let's compare it to the Phoenix Wright series. Every witness that you talk to is unique. Like, for example, you've got Gumshoe, Detective Gumshoe. I find him a way more memorable character than Detective Chelney. The character of Larry Butts is way more... even like characters like Mo the Clown are more memorable than the characters in Professor Layton. But yeah, the story isn't the main point behind the game. The puzzles are. And I've got to say, the story is a really weak way to set up the puzzles, because anything will remind this dude of a puzzle. Oh, this dirty jar reminds me of a puzzle I once heard. No lead up, that's all he says, and it's a pretty lame puzzle too. The puzzles are the thing that frustrated me the most in Professor Layton, because most of them, if not all of them, are trial and error. And that really ticks me off, because think about it. Is it fun to have to just guess over and over again? No, it isn't. Most of the time I found myself saving right before I knew there was going to be a puzzle coming up, because I didn't want to lose my hit coins, and I would usually spend all 3 on every puzzle, and then just guess anyway. I mean, sure, it's satisfying when you think of a puzzle through the first time, but either you've got trial and error situations where you just try all the multiple choices, you've got things where, like the ball put the ball in the hole puzzles, where you just shuffle around blocks randomly for an hour until you get the answer. And then you've got the ones where you've got no chance of finding it out, and so you look online. I mean, seriously. Trial and error is not a way to beat a game, and maybe I'm just bad at this sort of thing, but the thing is that the puzzles didn't sell me for this game, and that's what the game is supposed to be. And it's not like I hate puzzles. I like a good puzzle, and if the puzzle solution is clever, then I actually like it. But most of the time they're just trying to trick you, and there's no way you can work it out anyway. Another thing, I find that the presentation kinda sucks. The music is incredibly repetitive. It's got the No More Heroes problem of having the same song remixed a bajillion different times. And that gets really annoying. Do you know how irritating it is hearing da 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 over and over and over again? It gets on your nerves. And also, I don't find the graphical style to be that amusing. The character designs just bug me. I don't know what it is about them, but they just don't look physically pleasing. Now, the game does have some hand-drawn cutscenes and with full voice acting. The animation is pretty fluid and nice, but then again, you're watching it on a DS, so the quality is going to be rather shit to begin with. Not to mention that I really like the hand-drawn parts. Those are actually really well animated, but there are some parts where they have 3D in them, and it's just really jarring. I mean, you can't mix 3D and 2D animation all the time. You don't always get the stampede scene from The Lion King. And then there's the voice acting. I don't like the voice acting. It's just overly cheesy, and not in a hilarious way either. I mean, Layton's apprentice saves the day, or every puzzle has a solution. It's just not good. It's overly British, I should say. Now, I know some British people, and they're generally nice guys, but the voices in Professor Layton sound like a typical American mimicking a British person. You know, like, what, Cheerio, spot of tea. It's sort of like that, and it ticks me off to see that these voice acting wasn't given more credit. Not to mention that the voice acting is really out of place when it comes up, too, because the beginning is completely voice acted. So I thought to myself, they're going to voice act the entire thing, but no, you only get voice acting during the cutscenes after that. I just find that the presentation in general is very schizophrenic. But can I really say that Professor Layton is a bad game? Not really, no. I mean, if you're good at puzzles and you like these sort of thing, I guess, yeah, you'd like it. But especially when you compare it to much better, similar games, I just don't see what the appeal is. Now, I have heard that the later games get better, and I'm going to try out at least the next one, Diabolical Box, excuse me. But, I don't know, unless if you're really, really into puzzles and you don't mind getting frustrated, Professor Layton's at least worth a rent, I'd say. Or if you can find it cheap, then you can get it then, too. But, I've been ExandShadow. I'll see you guys later.